Hi, welcome to episode 15. And today I think we're going to do a different dialogue in the very beginning. I'll let Eve explain that, what we're going to be doing next.
Very good, yes. So in the previous episode, basically, people may remember that Yeshua met this young boy who called him Swami and took him to the top of the mountain of Solomon.
That's right.
And then that young boy morphed into a young adult, okay? And he presented himself as Babaji. So today we're going to talk a little bit more about Babaji. And to make it simpler for our audience, we're going to do a little dialogue.
Right.
And Isabella will basically cover the part of Yeshua, and I will talk for Babaji.
All right. Sounds good.
So those two are still on the top of the mountain of Solomon, and they are exchanging.
And having some great conversation.
Right.
So Yeshua, so how do you know me?
Well, I recognize you because all souls are intersecting, okay? And yours was not aligned with the other souls. It was actually above the other souls.
Oh, interesting. Okay. I was born this way. Is it Elohim who sends you?
Well, I'm coming from your side, another world, another time, where we are brothers.
Shambhala?
If you want, yes. Here in the mountains and further away, we say Shambhala. But in truth, I am coming from him. And at this point, Babaji is pointing to the lingam located on top of the tower.
Okay.
I am sent by the Lord Shiva. Because like this stone, which created itself, it is Shiva who is inside me.
Are you the instructor that I've been seeking?
No, nobody teaches the one who already know everything. And soon we'll know more. I can only help you recover your memory.
And will you help me with that?
If you allow me, Swami Yeshua, my brother, Avshtara. So, as the audience may remember, Avshtara again is a name for avatar. So Babaji is acknowledging that Yeshua is an avatar and he's recognizing and designated him as such. So Babaji and Yeshua at this point are walking toward the small temple containing the lingam. The top of the mountain is desert, surprisingly, but I suspect that, again, this is probably some magic from Babaji.
Are you saying it's deserted?
Deserted.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, deserted.
Okay.
Yeah.
Sound like dessert.
No, I'm sorry.
Just want to clarify that.
Yeah, so probably used some kind of magic to make sure that nobody came at that point during their meeting. And there is an interesting flower which is everywhere, and this flower is called the yasamana, which I think in our world is called the jasmine.
Oh, okay.
And so those flowers are everywhere.
It's probably really fragrant.
Yes,
too.
very fragrant, and they are everywhere on the steps leading to the lingam.
Okay.
And so Yeshua thinks that maybe there was a previous ritual here before they came, but I have the feeling that those petals of flowers have been put in place by Babaji.
Yeah, for him.
For him
Yeah.
and for Yeshua. Yeah.
That's what I meant, for Yeshua, yeah.
For both of them, yes. And so Yeshua is thinking about what Babaji just said about the souls, and he understands what it means, the souls of all humans, animals, plants, and even the sleeping minerals are all linked together. And they're all interconnected. It's very difficult to accept in our world because we don't have we only focused on the
3D,
on the 3D and the material world.
Right.
We don't see the spiritual world and all its connections. Yeah. So we are part of the whole.
Right.
And I think that's what we have to remember from that. Yeah. So Yeshua is also asking Babaji to explain to him who is and what is Shiva. Okay, so Shiva used to be called Girisha, or the Lord of the Mountain in the old days, And then later on, it was called the Shankara, which means the auspicious. Okay. And then it becomes Shiva more recently. And we have to realize that his name has changed because of the different religions. The Hindu religion started with the Vedas, right?
Right.
And then it turned into Brahmanism, and finally into Hinduism.
Okay.
But this is a very, very old religion. I would say probably more than 6,000 years old.
Okay.
So probably older than Egyptian, and much, much older than any Christian religion. Yeah. So Babaji explained to Yeshua basically that Shiva has already taken Yeshua in his dance for a long time already, right? And whatever he's seeking is already in him, inside him. So, and I think that one of the goals is that Yeshua must create a key to help people who are afraid and do not even know that they are afraid. So, you remember we talked about in the previous episode about the fact that the most difficult was to awake people.
Right.
And now the other task that Yeshua has to work on is to help people be not afraid.
Right.
Or be more confident.
Be more confident and afraid of, what are they
Well,
mostly
probably
afraid of?
about their religious belief and spiritual belief,
Oh, because it's the fear of God?
Yeah, the fear of God,
Oh, okay.
vengeful God, and everything.
Right,
So
okay.
we have to move away from that.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. This is extremely important. And then most people know the representation of Shiva, right? It's normally represented inside a wheel, a circle, right?
Right.
And he has some kind of a strange posture, which is almost like dancing.
Right.
And he's also with his foot, he's squashing some kind of looks like a baby, but it's not a baby because in some representation that baby has two little horns on the head.
Okay.
And but again, it's not the adversary that Shiva is squashing. Contrary to what people may think, is not the darkness.
Okay.
It is ignorance.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, ignorance is the worst of all evils,
Of course. Yeah.
and the worst enemies we can have here. So Babaji explained to Yeshua that Shiva is actually the active intelligence of the Supreme Being, the Supreme Being being a Brahman. Okay.
Can you spell the Brahman a little bit better?
Well, Brahman is the ultimate creator. I think it can be linked to what Yeshua called Hawun.
Okay.
Some people who are into esoteric and Hinduism and Buddhism may have heard about the breathing of Brahman. So there is the inspire and the expire of Brahman. And when Brahman inspire, basically I think the worlds are contracting.
Okay.
They are coming to the void. And then when he expires, universes and galaxies are created.
So basically what you're saying is like inhalation, exhalation,
Yes,
right? Okay.
inhalation, exhalation.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
That's what I'm picturing as you're saying
right.
that.
Yeah. So yeah, Brahman is the highest form of divinity or creator we can imagine. Yeah, on the top of everything. Well, we can talk about that, but we know there are multiple levels of creators. Okay, but Brahman would be the one who is above them all.
Okay.
So again, Babaji explained that Shiva is the breath that builds, destroy, restore endlessly, and then destroys again, and then restore. It's endless.
Right.
It's a cosmic dance.
Yeah.
And it's like a whirlwind. It never stops. And he's saying, you don't have to worry, Yeshua, because he's already in you. So you don't have to learn anything about it. That energy is already in you. So Babaji leaves the temple after a while, and while Yeshua meditates those few last words. I mean, we have to remember that Yeshua is still in the process of learning. He's 14 years old. And for him, all these notions and those concepts are new. He may have them embedded into his DNA and his distant memory, but it still he has to work them out, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And so after a while, Babaji tells him, we will meet again one day, Yeshua. Yeah, you don't have to worry about that. And it will be somewhere among the snow, toward the north and the east of where we are now.
Oh, is that where you live?
Well, my home is similar to yours. Mm. It is when there is something to gather, to seed, to collect, and to seed again. Again, we see the notion of building, destroying, rebuilding, redestroying, So it is, my house is basically where there is happiness to share. The mountains are simply for me an island. Which is an interesting metaphor, right? Where I decided to land for a while.
Okay. An island. Okay.
So Yeshua is very thoughtful about all this, he's wondering, okay. And at one point he's caressing his chin with his hand and he discovers some hair.
Oh.
So he's starting to grow a beard,
He's starting to grow up.
And Babaji is very amused by that. And he tells him, oh yes, it happens. Even to an Afshtara. Even an Afshtara can grow a beard. And so those two young people, Babaji and Yeshua, parts without any more words or planning any other meetings. Okay. They trust that a new meeting will take place later in the future.
They're in their divine flow.
Exactly. I think I love what you said. It's exactly what it is, yeah. So after this experience on top of the mountain of Solomon, Yeshua decides to go back to the former village where they landed first when they came around the Lake Dahl. So you may remember that they moved to another place, but before moving, they were part of that Jewish community who has been establishing itself around the Lake Dahl, okay? And this time he talks to some of the rabbis again. He goes to the synagogue and talks with some of the rabbis. And they seem to, he does it for multiple reasons. He does not want to stay on that bitter end that he had with them before,
Right.
It was not a very nice feeling and a nice,
and in that kind of encounter is not what he really wants to leave off.
Right,
with, right?
exactly.
He wants to.
He wants to be in good terms with everybody.
Right.
Yeah. So, and this time he found them more agreeable and open-minded. Okay, and so they talk about Solomon in this land, and they talk about the lingam with those guys, and the rabbis are telling Yeshua a very interesting story. They tell him that Solomon came multiple times on a luminous cloud with Elohim.
Oh.
Oh, so again, I'm calling the audience. How would you describe a luminous cloud in the sky with Elohim, right?
Right.
I think
I'm thinking extraterrestrials. Is that
yes,
what you're thinking? Oh, okay.
absolutely.
All right.
I'm thinking
Make sure we're both thinking the same thing.
I'm thinking about scout ships.
Right.
Yes. Yes. Landing in that place.
Right.
And that's what, for the people at that time, they see a light in the sky and they think it's a luminous cloud. Yeah. So the rabbis are telling Yeshua that this is an oral tradition and they have never written it and they will never write about it.
Oh, wow.
It was only transmitted, from...
I wonder why.
Yeah, well, yeah. So apparently, King Solomon was trying to reach Shambhala. And probably with the help of those extraterrestrials, he was trying to get there. Yeah. Yeah. So, after the meeting with Babaji on top of the mountain of Solomon, Yeshua does not feel the need to go on top of the mountain every day. I mean, as you may remember, we said it in the past episode, every day he was doing the ascension to the top of the mountain and spending time in front of the lingam. And so right now he's convinced that his encounter with Babaji has been finalized, and completed. And there is not much that he has to expect from the place. And I wanted to also report an interesting story is that before he met Babaji, he was going to an Hindu temple, a temple, dedicated to Shiva. And he was talking with the priest, the local priest, and then there was always a young boy helping the priest.
Do you think it could have been Babaji?
Well, that young boy was exactly the one who called him on the way to the mountain, on the way to the top of the mountain.
Okay, all right.
And that young boy was the one that morphed into Babaji. But the interesting part is not so much the presence of the young boy, is the fact that the priest in the Shiva temple never saw that young boy.
Oh, only Yeshua saw.
Only Yeshua could see that young boy. So I think Babaji was basically presenting himself to Yeshua just to get him used to the presence of this young kid.
Right.
So he wouldn't be surprised later on when he saw him in the mountains. Yeah. So at that point, after talking with the rabbi and spending some time on the Jewish side, he goes back to his little village, and he spends a lot of time in a secret and a restricted room in a temple dedicated to Shiva. And he's meditating, he's exploring the depths of his memory and consciousness, which is something we should all do. But and so he's learning about mantras. And mantras are syllables or sounds, sometimes sentences, short sentences that you repeat endlessly, right? And so he's learning about the mantras, which are composed of 35 fundamental sounds.
Oh,
apparently there are 35 fundamental sounds that you have to learn and master. And each sound has a corresponding color as well as an element of nature.
So 35
elements
of color and nature. Okay.
Right. That's what Yeshua is telling us, And the mantras are helping him open the heart chakra, the throat chakra, and the third eye chakra, which are basically chakra number 4, 5, and 6, right? The three lower chakras being located further down in the body.
Right.
And so when you open those chakras, there are images coming to your mind. And those images are called yantra.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we have the mantra and we have the yantra. The mantra being the sound and the yantra being the images.
There's actually an image of yantra. Have you seen that?
No, I've never seen it. But it would be interesting if we can find it.
Find that.
Maybe we can post it on the video, And so those yantra, those images are coming to his consciousness while he is sounding repetitively the mantras. So that's how he spends most of his days. And just to give you a little bit of a logistic where they live, so Yoshiram and Yeshua are now living in a small shed that they are renting from a spice merchant.
Oh, okay.
Merchant, yeah. Okay. So the guy is selling spices, but also accommodating those two guests.
Probably smells good in there.
Yeah. And the house is located on the shore of the Jhelum River. And I was able to find a picture of that little river with the houseboats, So we'll post that as well, So, at one point they realized that they have no more money and they need to do something to sustain their life. Right. So they have sold their 2 horses, the little horses they had.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. You remember that bad guide stole their money.
Stole the money.
Yeah, so they have not much left. And so Yeshua decides to heal people. in exchange for some food and sometimes a little bit of coins, you know,
I
to
think
pay for the
people would
rent.
be okay with that, right?
Yes, I think they are.
I think I would be okay with that.
So the winter comes again, you know. They came during basically the spring and the summertime. So winter comes again, and when the next spring comes around, a group of women starts approaching Yeshua, and they ask him to talk and explain certain things. So those women have been detecting that this young guy, who is not from around the place, you know,
Right.
because he's a foreigner, is quite capable and quite smart. So that's also very
Can't
interesting.
hide it.
Yeah, and that's very interesting, and it's an excellent rehearsal for Yeshua for what his life will be in the future.
Right.
And I think it's important to say that normally women, especially in the Jewish tradition, are not allowed to discuss the spiritual matters. Okay? And so here we have a bunch of women who are actually probably coming from Hindu background and perhaps also from a Jewish background. And they are making the first step to go toward him and asking for explanations. So he actually starts talking in front of a group of women.
Oh.
Not far from his home, there is a little piece of of land. He sits there, and the women comes and listen and ask questions.
Nothing's changed since then.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
always women.
Yeah. So more and more women are coming every day, and then some old men, and finally some younger men.
Okay.
Yeah. And after a while, he keeps doing it. And he becomes what they call him Ishe. I-S-H-E-E.
What does that mean?
Ishe. The Swami from far away.
So it means the Swami from far away. Okay.
Speaking of a god that he called Awun. So I'm sure he has made the relation between Awun and Shiva or Brahma. Similar to Shiva, Vishnu, and even Brahma. Okay, I would, again, for our audience, would assimilate Awun to Brahma.
Okay.
Yeah, the ultimate creator. And so the summer is being spent, teaching those women, those groups of people, listening to him. And then the winter comes again with the snow. Slowing down the life of the village and inviting an inner perspective. And at that point, Yeshua feels compelled to do some astral traveling.
Oh, okay.
So he does some astral traveling to see his family. And so during the night, he goes there and he sees his mother washing clothes, He sees
Nothing's changed.
Nothing changes. He
Poor
sees,
mom.
yeah, he sees father worried and preoccupied, probably wondering about Yeshua.
Right, where he's at.
Yeah, he sees young brother Judas, who is learning how to shear the sheep, and collect the wool. And Judas is actually looking more and more like Yeshua.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And when we will see that in the future, but when Judas is fully grown up, he's almost a carbon copy of Yeshua.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they look very much the same. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And then again, after the winter, spring comes back, and Yeshua climbs one last time to the top of the mountain. And this time, Yosharam goes with him. And he tells Yosh on top of the mountain that he has to do another travel. He has to travel to a city called Nagar, which is the city of Puri today in India.
Okay.
And it's located on the eastern shore of India. An old city which is near the sea. And so he asked Yosh, will you come with me, Yosh? Do you feel like you can do it? And Yosh responds, how can you doubt it? I do not want to miss a second of your path.
Right.
Utuktu,
Yeah.
and he called him Utuktu, which is Avatar, basically,
Oh, okay. Right.
Nothing at all. I will not miss a single second of your path. And so, in the next episode 16, we will be seeing we will see Yoshiram and Yeshua again start a long journey to the southeast part of India. And this time they do everything walking.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, there are no more horses, no
Yeah, they
more
have to
camel.
sell everything.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Wow.
so we will get into the details, and again, we will publish their itinerary on a map.
Right, wonderful. Great. Well, thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.